Bucks Hawks game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals tonight. Milwaukee looking for a third straight win. Atlanta looking to avoid a 3-1 hole. Here to lay down their best bets for this thriller is DraftKings contributor Julian Edlow, Rotowire NBA editor Nick Whalen, and host of the Four Seasons podcast for Ball is Life, Ryan Magdziarz. So guys, Chris Middleton was the main character on Sunday, propelled the Bucks to a 2-1 series lead. So for game 4 tonight, the Bucks are 7-point road favorites. Jules, with an injured Trae Young, do you think the Bucks can cover and take both games in Atlanta?
Yeah, it certainly didn't look the same for Trae Young when he got back into that game. Now we have to see how he recovered these last couple of days, but the updates also aren't good. It looked like an ankle roll, obviously, but now it's a bone bruise in the foot. Maybe it's some kind of combination in there. He's going to play. He's going to play and battle through it. But we've seen guys, James Harden, Anthony Davis, play through injuries that they normally would not be playing through in this postseason. And in Anthony Davis's case, almost hurt his team. In Harden's case, give them a body on the floor, but not be the guy that he needed to be. Now, in the Nets case, they had Kevin Durant on the floor and could still at least gut through the rest of the series. If Trae Young looks, limited, I don't think he'll be as bad as Harden. But if Trae Young's not Trae Young, Atlanta's not going anywhere. That's just the way it is. So the full game makes me a little nervous. It's a lot of points at home. But the Hawks, outside of last game when they came out hot and the Bucks came back, the Hawks have been one of the slowest starting teams in the postseason, one of the worst shooting first quarter teams in the postseason. The Bucks have been a team that has generally come out hot, and then whether they win the game or not, Coach Bud has had some collapses late in games. But for me, I am looking at the Bucks first quarter here, one that I went to earlier in the series, I think for game 2 that came through. Just lay the 2.5 points. I think the Bucks get off to a good start here, and Young might have some cobwebs to shake off, even if he does get going later in the game when the foot loosens up.
Nick, what do you think? Can the Bucks cover and take both games in Atlanta?
I think they can. I think game 3 finally showed us something about this Bucks team that we hadn't seen a ton of throughout the playoffs. And that was some resiliency, the ability to weather a storm, where it felt like Atlanta was playing about as well as it possibly could have through that first half. And I think Milwaukee was down by as much as 11 or 13 at times. And, instead of folding when the 3-pointers weren't falling, when things weren't going their way, they kept it close. They hung around. And finally, at the end, you get the big fourth quarter from Chris Middleton, which, of course, was coupled with the Trae Young injury to pull away. And I think, assuming Trae Young is not at 100%, I think he plays in this game, but I don't think we're going to get like 48-point Trae Young from game 1 of this series. I think he's going to be a little bit limited. The big kicker here is that Bogdanovic is also limited. If Trae Young's going to be at, say, 80%, you need Bogdanovic to kind of step up and be your main ball handler, main creator. He was a lot more aggressive, I thought, in game 3, but 3 of 16 from the field just doesn't really seem to have it with that knee issue that he's been nursing since midway through the Sixers series. So not only is your best guy banged up in Trae Young, but the guy who you would need to step up in place of him is also banged up. And I think that's where Atlanta could really run into some trouble here. Like Julian said, I think I like Milwaukee to kind of sense the moment, sense that they have a real chance to take control of this series and then come back home and finish it out on Thursday. So I like the Bucks to jump out to an early lead. I think there's also a case to be made that at some point the shooting comes around for Milwaukee. I mean, they're shooting 32% from 3 as a team. They've been the worst team in the playoffs in terms of wide open 3-point shooting, dating all the way back to round 1. They're under 35% on wide open threes. A part of the issue is they just don't have a ton of great shooters. But at some point, Brent Forbes is going to have one of those like 4 for 7 games, or Pat Connaughton could get hot like he did at the end of the Brooklyn series. So, it was a big win for Milwaukee in game 3 because it didn't feel like they played all that well for most of that game. It feels like they have another level to go up, and I think we could see that tonight.
Yeah, Ryan, where do you sit on this one?
Yeah, this all revolves around Trae Young to me. Obviously, his ankle, he's going to have almost 48 hours to recover from this. He wears ankle braces. He always has. I think it's not going to be that bad. I'm banking on the narrative that Trae Young is going to be okay. It looked like a slight roll. Now, granted, Jules did mention he didn't look like himself when he came back, and I agreed. He looked very different. Partnered with Middleton going nuclear in the fourth. I think that was just too much burden in the fourth quarter. But I think 7 might be too much if Trae is completely healthy. And when I say completely healthy. 80% I'm hoping for. But yeah, Bogdanovic not being banged up, and he looks not even 50% right now, and taking 16 shots, I think, is too many shots for him last in game 3. So I'm keeping my eye on Trae Young. If Trae Young is 80% at least, I think 7 is too much for the spread.